And Jim.
And welcome back to another Meteorology Monday. Today we are continuing our storm chasing series and we are talking about the EF scale. Now this video, depending on how long we talk, as you guys know, we can talk for a long time. So
Not us. No.
This video might be a two-parter, we'll see. But let's start with a little bit of a background. So before we had the EF scale, we had the F scale. And since I wasn't really around for that, Dad's gonna explain to you what the Fujita scale is.
Let's point to the old guy and have him take over at this point. All right. So, back in the day, we have what was called the F scale, or the Fujita scale, and that was named after Dr. Ted Fujita. That he was a tornado researcher back in the day, in the 60s and 70s. He might have been even dabbling with things back in as early as the 50s. But basically, the Fujita scale came about as a looking at what wind damage was occurring. So a combination of meteorology and engineering to see how strong tornadoes were and what the corresponding effects on things like trees and buildings along that line. So he came up with a scale called the Fujita scale in roughly the early 70s. So that's the Fujita scale. And then we move on to the enhanced Fujita scale. Now basically the enhanced Fujita scale came about from later research during the 70s, 80s, and 90s where engineers and meteorologists were doing more research on the effects of tornadoes on buildings and more modern construction, and so they enhanced that to more accurately reflect the damage they were seeing out in the field.
So for example, one of the biggest changes between the Fujita scale and the enhanced Fujita scale is the F5 and the EF5, where the F5 started at 261 miles per hour and EF5 is 200 plus. So it kind of lowered the amount of winds necessary for it to be a catastrophic and incredible tornado.
Right. Based on the criteria that they established, they found that a lower wind speed actually satisfied that as well. So they came with that was part of the enhanced Fujita research that they did.
Yep.
So, since the old guy knew what the Fujita scale was back in the day, I'm going to turn it over to the youngster to tell me, when did the enhanced Fujita scale come out?
The EF scale came out in 2007.
That's a basic history to the Fujita scale and the enhanced Fujita scale. So now what we're going to do is we will go ahead and look at each one that go from EF0 as the weakest to EF5 as the strongest, and we'll look at the wind speeds and damage associated with that EF level.
Our EF0 is from 65 to 85 miles per hour, and the typical damage associated with this is peeling off surface of roads and some damage to like gutters and siding. Not too much damage, but just like the basic loose items are getting ripped off and tossed around.
Yeah, definitely lawn furniture, loose objects, they will definitely be tossed around the yard.
This is where your garden gnomes go from standing up to in your neighbor's yard.
That's it. So based on that video that we saw, it looks like it lines up pretty well with the EF0 scale. Again, some things, when tornadoes get assessed, they have a certain period at which they will start, they will mature, and then they'll die off. So they may start as a 0 and then go up to a...
and then go back down. It might end up in EF4, might go back down to a 1, might go up to a 3. So, I mean, these ratings for the tornadoes are the max wind speeds.
That's right.
So if it's rated in EF0, then the max was 65 to 85 miles per hour.
Right. All right, so next we're going to go on to the EF1.
And our EF1 is from 86 miles per hour to 110. And the damage associated with this is roofs are severely stripped, mobile homes overturned or badly damaged, loss of exterior doors, windows, and other glass broken. So these are the tornadoes that are going to, throw rocks at your house and blow out your windows and take some shingles off.
So the winds in this category tend to range on the low end of the hurricane category.
Yeah, we've gotten into the hurricane force winds now with this EF1.
So Cat 1, Cat 2 kind of winds Only obviously with a hurricane it's on a much larger scale, but with a tornado, to kind of give you an equivalent, you know, we're starting to get up there to Cat 1, Cat 2 winds on a smaller scale.
Yeah, just instead of taking out the entire state of Florida, it's only taking out your lawn furniture.
Instead of gnomes across the entire state toppling over, it's just going to be in your neighborhood. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at clips of EF1 tornadoes and the associated damage with them.
So those are some clips of EF1s and the damage associated with that. As you can see, a bunch of trees fell over, some mobile homes were destroyed.
And the gnomes definitely fell over.
And now on to EF2s.
EF2s.
We've got the EF2 starting at 111 to 135 miles per hour, and the damage associated with EF2s is roofs are torn off of well-constructed homes, foundations of framed houses can be shifted, and mobile homes are completely destroyed.
So the EF2 range, basically, we're looking at hurricane force winds category 3 and very low end of category 4. That's the strength that we're talking about in a very small area.
Very small area. And if you can imagine basically the strongest parts of a hurricane bunched into like a eighth of a mile kind of going across your backyard, then you get a good idea of what kind of damage we're about to see in these next clips.
That's right. And as you notice so far, going from EF0 to EF1 to EF2, you'll notice them, their structure is becoming a little bit more broader. You can see the wind profile extending out further and further. So, EF2s, the damage associated with those, and some corresponding videos to give you a visual. Here we go. Next, we're going to move on to the EF3 scale. Now we're starting to get into some major stuff.
These are the beginnings of the dangerous ones.
That's right.
Not that the smaller ones can't be dangerous, but these are the ones where you see these and you know bad things are about to happen.
The girth of the tornado is looking more ominous at this point. It's picking up a lot more things.
These are the storms where you can see a well-defined wall cloud 90% of the time. Of course, there's always going to be exceptions. But these are the ones that normally you see those big, like, UFO-looking storms. You start to see a really well-defined wall cloud. You see the funnel cloud come down. And as it grows, it turns, you know, a darker color because it's pulling up all of that dirt and stuff a lot better than EF0s, 1s, and 2s. And they start growing bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually they'll get much wider, but that's for in the future.
That's right. So let's take a look at the description of what an EF3 does, and then we'll take a look at some of the video.
So an EF3 is 136 to 165 miles per hour, and the damage associated with this is entire stories of well-constructed homes are destroyed, severe damage to large buildings such as shopping malls, and basically we're getting into the bad news of you're gonna need to start some construction on your home. It's not gonna be an easy fix.
No, it's definitely going to be a huge mess, and not just necessarily for your house, but most likely your neighborhood, a portion of your town. Many things will be impacted at that point.
Yeah, we're starting to get to the point where these tornadoes take out on neighborhood scale instead of just a street or a home.
That's right.
So your gnomes might end up in a different county.
County gnomes.
County gnomes! The upper end of an EF3 is officially passing Cat 5 winds. And this is the first of the EFs that has a damage word associated with it being devastating. We're getting into that end instead of just moderate or considerable damage. We're getting into more devastating. So we are going to end it there for this week. We have covered EF0 through 3. Next week we will cover the dreaded 4s and 5s.
So if you like what you saw, go ahead and leave a comment below. Make sure you click on that subscribe button and also give us a thumbs up.
You nailed it! High five! And while you're at it, go ahead and follow us over on Instagram and Facebook. If you guys have any experience seeing tornadoes and know the rating, leave us a comment down below with your story and tag us over on Instagram and Facebook so that we can see your stuff. Shout out to everyone whose videos we used in this video as well. Until next time, I'm Kayla.
And I'm Jim.
Thanks for watching.
And happy storm chasing.